You ever have one of those moments where you walk into a place and every single eye in the room tells you, plain as day, you don't belong? Yeah, that's how it started for me. Standing on a stage that wasn't meant for folks like me, holding my white cane, heart pounding in my chest, feeling every ounce of doubt rolling off the audience. Right up front, there was Richard Belmont, the maestro himself, making it real clear in front of everyone that he didn't want a blind man anywhere near his precious grand piano. He turned to the tech crew and said, "Get that man off my stage. He's blind. He'll ruin the Bluthner." You ever hear a laugh that cuts through you like a cold wind? That's what the orchestra gave him. And I just stood there, wishing I could disappear. But I wasn't about to back down. Not after everything I'd been through. I took a breath, steadied myself, and faced the direction of his voice, my fingers hovering over those keys. "Sir, I was invited," I told him, my voice somehow steady. "Let me show you why." He shot back, "You've got 2 minutes, not a second more." It wasn't an offer, it was a dare, and everyone in that hall expected me to fall flat on my face. Truth is, I'd faced a lot worse in my life. Lost my sight in the jungle, lost my wife, lost years to a kind of silence most folks can't even imagine. Music was the only thing that ever brought me out of that darkness. Gloria, my wife, used to tell me, "Music's just math for the soul. You can still play, Henry, even if you can't see." So I played. Old battered pianos in tiny apartments, empty cafes, VFW halls where no one looked twice at a blind vet. I never imagined I'd be standing under the bright lights, about to play for people who thought I was nothing but a charity case. Thing is, you can teach yourself a lot in the quiet. For 40-some years, I played for just one person, Gloria, until she was gone, and silence just about swallowed me whole. That's when Jessica, this firecracker of a grad student, heard me at a fundraiser and said I should play for the world. Next thing I know, I'm somehow in the lineup for the Crescent City Festival, up against prodigies and legends, not one of them blind, not one of them broke-down veterans. Now, on that stage, every part of me wanted to run. But I sat at that fancy piano, hands trembling a little, not with fear, but with everything I'd been holding back. I didn't ask for a Braille score or a special seat. I just started to play. The first notes barely whispered out, sounding like the jungle before sunrise, the way the leaves used to move right before everything went wrong. You could feel the room holding its breath, waiting for me to mess up. But what came next? Well, it wasn't perfect. It was raw, real, full of hurt and hope, all tangled up together. Every memory, every loss came pouring out of me and into those keys. For a minute, I forgot about the maestro, the judges, the lights. Forgot about being blind even. I swear when I finished, you could hear a pin drop. Richard snapped out of it first. "That's enough. This festival has standards," he said, voice shaky for once. I gathered up my cane and walked off with what little pride I had left. Jessica caught up to me, her voice all fire. "You were amazing, Henry. I've never seen Richard so rattled." But I told her, "It's not about impressing folks like him. It never was." 2 days later, Jessica showed up at my door with a plan. "Bad news is, you're off the official program. Good news is, I got you St. Paul's Church, same night, and we're streaming it online. It's crazy, but it's justice." I shook my head, laughing. "You sound just like Gloria." She smiled, said, "Tell me about her." So I did. How she was the only one who ever made me feel seen. How she taught me to play when the world turned black. Leading up to the show, Richard kept up the insults, mocking me in the papers, calling me a charity case, saying maybe there should be a category for inspirational amateurs. Thing is, every time he ran his mouth, more people wanted to hear the blind guy play. The night before the show, I told Jessica, "When you lose your sight in the jungle, you learn about two kinds of darkness. One that traps you, and one that sets you free." My music, I guess, came from that second kind. Show night. The difference was something else. Richard, in his tux, played to a half-empty symphony hall. Me, I sat down at an old Yamaha in a packed church. Cameras everywhere. I told the crowd, "Tonight, you'll hear something you can't learn in school." And I played. God, did I play. Mixing up everything Juilliard had taught me with everything Vietnam and Gloria had burned into my soul. I even stopped halfway, said, "This is for Richard Belmont, who taught me about perfection." But life taught me about something better. Here's the twist. Nobody knew that decades earlier, I'd been his star pupil at Juilliard back before the war, before I dropped out to serve. The old photos surfaced, people started sharing them online, and my stream shot up past 100,000 viewers before I finished the final note. Meanwhile, Richard lost his place, got rattled, while folks slipped out to watch me on their phones. Next morning, my phone was blowing up. Record deals, a scholarship in my name. Press calling me the underdog who rewrote the rules. Richard got dropped from the festival, contracts canceled. Yeah, that happened. But the best thing wasn't fame. With Jessica's help, I started a music school for folks with disabilities, teaching kids, veterans, anyone who needed a new way to be heard. And wouldn't you know it, a few months later, I got a letter from Richard. He wanted to come learn, said I showed him the soul he'd lost chasing perfection. When he came, no suit, no attitude. He just sat and listened while I taught blind kids to find music in the dark. When he finally spoke, he said, "You could have destroyed me." I said, "Revenge would have blinded me all over again. I'd rather use what I've got left to make something better." That was real closure right there. So here's my question for you. How many times do we write people off because they don't fit the picture in our head? What's justice, really, when the underdog finally wins? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me about a time you or someone you knew proved everybody wrong. Let's talk about what it means to really see.